Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda approved.
All set.
Next item, please.
Next item is PTO, PTA, EPLAC reports.
Good evening. We had our meeting a few weeks ago with EPLAC, and I just want to let you know that we are still focusing on parent involvement and trying to recruit more parents. It is very needed, especially with having over 1,000 IEPs in our district and having a handful of parents show up. So we are trying to find a way to connect with our parents in the district, and that's why we're looking to send out a survey. We are told that we have to send that out through all emails and to our parents or families, that there's no way to signify any IEP family, so we can just do a target. So that will be sent out as soon as we finish developing that survey. That could also mean that we have to be creative in the dates, times, availability, if we need to convert to doing hybrid, just so we can make sure that we are encompassing all of our families to make it inclusive, because that's what we're about, is inclusivity. Again, we are doing our 16th annual recognition program. So we are currently receiving nominations for any individual within our school district, including parents and community organizations or personnel who are going above and beyond in the area of inclusion for our students. So all of those nominations will be sent to our EPLAC email address and are due by March 18th. Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Farand.
Will both principals be presenting together or separately? I assume it's separately.
It'd be interesting if it wasn't. Yeah. Do you need us to move?
First, we can have our principals from Myron J. Francis, Principal Anne Marie Scott, and of course our pre-K principal, Ms. Karen Rabello. And is there going to be a PowerPoint presentation? And would you like us
mine
to?
is.
Okay,
Yep.
so we'll move to the audience and give us a.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anne Marie Scott, and I'm the principal of Myron J. Francis Elementary School. Tonight, I'm just going to be speaking to you about Responsive Classroom, which is our SEL program that we use at Francis School. Next slide, please. So you may wonder what Responsive Classroom is. It's a student-centered social and emotional approach to teaching and discipline. It's comprised of a set of research and evidence-based practices designed to create safe, joyful, and engaging classrooms and school communities for both students and teachers. And that's directly from Responsive Classroom. Next slide, please. Responsive Classroom, the reason we chose it was because it is actually a CASEL select program. CASEL is the collaborative for academic, social, and emotional learning, and it's has the highest program designation. Next slide, please. The core beliefs both go academically and social emotionally are cooperation, assertiveness, empathy, self-control. Also academic mindset, perseverance, learning strategies, and academic behavior. Next slide, please. Some of the teaching practices that are encompassed in responsive classroom morning meeting, establishing rules, interactive modeling, teacher language, logical consequences, energizers, quiet time, closing circle, interactive learning structures, student grouping, role play, academic choice, and guided discovery. So you can see it encompasses quite a bit, and another reason we chose this program. Next slide, please. So just to give a quick overview, when I arrived in East Providence, back in East Providence in 2018, responsive classroom was something that my previous district had used and was very well received throughout the district, and I saw great results with it. And so our timeline was, it also had a component of, because it was dealing with social emotional learning, it had a component of attendance, culture, and academics, and so much more right within this one program. So from 2019 to 2020, that school year, I brought the idea of responsive classroom to Francis. And then, of course, March 2020, we ended up dealing with COVID, and it continued for a while. And then in June of 2021, some of our school improvement team members were given the opportunity to go to PD with responsive classroom. In the summer of 2021, 2 teachers went to the Responsive Classroom Institute, which is a 4-day training. In the fall of 2021, all teachers received the book that you see there, the first 6 weeks of school. It's become somewhat of a Bible for our teachers, and they carry it around. It's not necessarily something that they use all 6 weeks, but it's something that they definitely use as a reference tool for opening up school and for establishing everything to start the school year off with. Also part of that was our PD, our staff provided PD to our staff. The staff that had gone to our PD, this school improvement team came back and provided our staff training. In the summer of 2022, 2 additional staff members went to the Responsive Classroom Institute, and then from then on, 3 teachers have gone to Responsive Classroom responding to misbehavior PD, and there's been a book club at Myron J. Francis all of last year. Next slide, please. Since implementation, the many things you may see around our school are group activities, morning meetings, making connections, academic goals, energizers, sharing, social goals, common expectations, teacher language, closing circle, and building community. And this is it's become part of our everyday culture at Francis. Next slide. On the top left, you can see that there's a sign, and this is coming directly from our classrooms. Right outside of one of the classrooms, you can see that students are given the opportunity to greet their teacher in a certain way. It's their choice. They can maybe do a curtsy, they can do a thumbs up, they might do a microwave. They have lots of different things that they do, but they're all greeted by their teachers in the morning. And then they come into the classroom, and part of morning meeting is the greeting, where students greet each other by name, and this often includes movement. There's a sharing component where students share about themselves and respond to others, and there's a group activity where the whole class has an inclusive activity. On the left-hand side there, you can see that that particular class was doing an activity with a ball of yarn, and they were calling out each student's name, making eye contact, greeting the child, and then as they grew this web, the teacher talked about the connection that they all had. On the top right, you can see some of the well, there's a note there from a teacher. This is our reading week, and so the teacher said, "Happy Reading Week, question, why should people read? Curious, love Miss Sprague." And on the right, you can see that the children then took Post-it notes and provided their responses, and that was part of their morning meeting. So morning message becomes they practice academic skills, they warm up for their day ahead by reading and discussing a daily note to the class prepared by the teacher. Next slide, please. This is just another example of morning meeting. This is from a third grade classroom, and there's a morning check-in where students kind of give how they're feeling, a temperature check, maybe thumbs up, thumbs down, hands up, thumbs sideways, arms crossed, depending on how they're feeling. They then watch a video regarding making, in this particular one, making good choices. And then there's a share out for them to think about. Think of a time when you had to make a choice. Was it easy or hard? And a quote, a sentence started there. It's important to reflect on our choices because. A morning message or a morning quote for the students, and then a poll of the day where they sometimes graph things. Next slide. Another example from a younger class, a primary class, a greeting where they were singing a song together, a share, and an activity. Next slide. So ongoing, we continue to have our teachers do workshops and webinars, teacher language for engaged learning, addressing challenging behaviors, morning meeting, teaching self-discipline, successful parent-teacher conferences, responding to misbehavior, and every week within our staff newsletter, I provide an article from Responsive Classroom for all teachers to read. Any questions? Thank you.
Good evening. So I will be presenting for the pre-K program, preschool program, I should say. So we chose to talk about our school improvement plan, and we did that for two reasons. Before the school improvement plan became part of the pre-K learning, we had what we called a quality improvement plan, and that had to be written by the staff when we originally applied for our program with Dr. Bola back in the day. And that plan had to state what we were going to be as a program, what we were going to define ourselves as, and how we were going to grow as a program and make things better, which basically now for us is our school improvement plan. We just do it in a different document. So pre-K has kind of always been a little bit ahead of the times. I mean, we always did school improvement plans, but now they align very similarly to how our quality improvement plan is. Basically, it is measuring student success and how you're going to get there. It was just a switch over for us. So we decided we'd talk about that, and that would give you a good highlight of who we are. So next slide, please. Some essential indicators of high-quality preschool, because that's what the East Providence preschool is considered. Positive relationships between teachers and children. The room is well-equipped with sufficient materials and toys. Communication occurs throughout the day. Listening, talking, responding, and encouragement to use reasoning and problem solving, very important. Opportunities for art, music, science, math, block, play, all kinds of things that are provided daily. There are materials and activities promote understanding and acceptance of diversity and respect, and families are encouraged to be involved in all aspects of the program. I think the three top things that we really focus on in EP Pre-K is communication occurring throughout the day, working with each other to make sure that we're doing things, and working with the students to do the same. I think that we also are very, very engaged in the materials and activities to promote the understanding of it and acceptance of diversity. We have a very diverse program in East Providence, and that we engage our families to be involved. And I think as we move forward with our school improvement plan, you will see that that's what we are highlighting. Next slide, please. So this is the mission statement that was written by our school improvement team, I think 3 or 4 years ago when we were told we had to start one. So basically, we looked at all of the documents that we had drawn up for the state, our curriculum, our quality improvement plan, our IPDPs, our philosophy for the program, and we decided that this kind of captured what we wanted to do as a school improvement team. So our team is charged with ensuring that the East Providence Preschool is providing a stimulating, safe, and nurturing educational foundation that promotes the academic, social, emotional, and physical growth of all students. We will advocate and support the development of our school community by maintaining a focus on inclusivity, uniqueness, and diversity, along with strong family relationships, social interactions, and a love for learning. We will empower our staff to provide intentional teaching opportunities for their students that are heavily embedded through play and foster curiosity that will set a foundation to become lifelong learners. I highlighted social emotional because I think that is one of the biggest things we do in preschool. And again, like I said, I think that you will see that that will go forward in our plan. Next slide, please. So this is interesting. This is something that I was saying to Anne-Marie, as much as we didn't talk before we presented, we ended up picking similar things to discuss. So initiative 1 for our program was conscious discipline. That is our universal school behavior program. Next slide. So within this program, what our goal was in our school improvement plan is to strengthen conscious discipline. So four whole concepts are implemented with fidelity as part of universal implementations. Conscious discipline is a very large program, but this year we highlighted these 4 topics to really push our staff to become very strong in, because there are so many moving parts. We're starting small and moving big. So just like the program that Anne-Marie described to you, we greet each child every day and family. That is the one unique thing about preschool, is that we do have our parents in every morning and every afternoon to speak with teachers. Begin morning meeting with the Brain Smart Start. Same kind of concept, where they do a chant, rituals, they disengage in breathing, and then they all make an individual commitment to be safe. They're taught all of these regulated breathing things throughout the day, and they are practiced throughout the day when things get high stress for them. And then we build a safe place in each of our classrooms, and as you can see, it just talks about their feelings, and it's a full discussion with teacher or paraprofessional to work them through anything that might be a problem for them in the day. Next slide, please. So the outcomes so far for conscious discipline that we have done, this has actually been an initiative that's been around with us for about 4 years now. The state sent us to a training because they wanted that to be part of the early childhood. Some stuck with it. We were one of them, but we did have that break in between of COVID. So we had those lost years that we weren't practicing it as much. But all pre-K staff have been completely trained in conscious discipline. Coaching continued into the following year, right before COVID happened, where we were developing model classrooms, so they were going to be statewide. Then we had a little bit of our break due to COVID. We, however, did come back, and we are working with coaches that are coming in, doing in-person trainings within our building with individual staffs and classrooms throughout the year. So we started our year with those particular coaches doing a whole group PD for us on PD day. And then they coached us through the first 6 weeks of our rollout. And then we have been embedding that support throughout the school year with coaching, in supervision, and in our comment planning times. So new pre-K staff, we just started a cohort actually in school for teachers that hadn't gone through the 40-hour training, or that were either new or were interested in learning more about it. So that's underway right now. We're going to see how that goes for as far as training new staff. Next slide, please. So the outcomes of this universal program is we get rated by the state every year in either a class score or in our ECHRS scores. So the state comes in for our Bright Stars. We have to be a Bright Star 5. and we are rated every 3 years. And we are required to maintain that high level, anywhere between a 5 and a 7. Class is one that comes in between. That is the one that came to us this year. They've already come. And our teachers scored in the area of behavior management within their classrooms. And this is in classroom, somebody watching for the specific things of your behavior management skills, anywhere between a 6.25 and a 7. So 6.25 was the lowest any staff person has. So we do see that outcomes are, the things that we're doing are making positive outcomes. We created a school-wide regulation station space for students. That was another long-term goal. We had it at Martin, and even though Oldham's a little smaller, we were able to squeeze one in. Dr. Bowley, you'd be very excited when you see it. We do the ongoing classroom coaching and then ongoing family engagement. Next slide, please. So our next initiative is STEAM. Last year, we began our STEAM focus after receiving the RIDE STEAM grant of $2,500. We purchased books. We worked with our HES partners to do hydroponics. We bought coding robots. We were able to train staff with that money. We are doing another training on April 2nd. And we wrote a $25,000 grant this year to pilot a program called High Scopes, and that is a program that does a lot with like science, math, like all of those heavy-hitting areas that we don't always get to really, focus on within a regular curriculum. Next slide, please. So we are incorporating our STEAM materials into centers and group times to engage in real-world math activities. We've had 2 family engagement STEAM events already, one in school and one was a take-home. If you've been in to read, you were able to see the products of that take-home activity that they did. They all made different objects or things out of boxes based on a story that they read. We've had staff who have presented some of the work that we've done at the Rhode Island Early Learning Conference, STEAM PD for staff, and again, like I said, we're piloting the high scope training for next year. I don't know why that was on there twice. Next slide, please. So this is some fun things that we're doing with family engagement. We've wrapped our family engagement around STEAM, as I was just saying. We've done Pumpkin Something was an art piece that we did. And this is just some pictures of the kids engaging in those. Next slide, please. And then our third initiative, which is really, really an important initiative to us, is our family and community engagement. And as you can see, this week is Reading Week, so we have some family members and some important folks in our city, state, doing some reading. And I think this really, this statement here really does talk about the importance. High impact family and community engagement is collaborative, culturally competent, and focused on improving children's learning. Parents being involved increases motivation for learning, improved behavior, more regular attendance, and a more positive attitude about homework and school in general. Family engagement is the key. So if we can get that really tight in pre-K, then we can move that through our district. So that's a real big piece of our puzzle in preschool. Next slide, please. Other important facts: the Family for Preschool Child is the first and main link that connects them to life with the social environment. It is very important. Parental love is the source and guarantee of human well-being, maintaining physical and mental health, and involving family members in educational decision-making can help strengthen the lines of communication between students, parents, and school personnel. This can lead to a better overall understanding of expectations and help create a more positive learning environment. As I said, this is one of our biggest initiatives. We work hard to get our families in, and I think it's really the key to preschool along with social emotional. Next slide. So with that in mind, just got the okay today from Dr. Frand, although she had a good idea to put a QR code on it, so we're going to take it back, but we are going to start sort of a family resource center right out of the Oldham School. So that parents, we work with Hez and she's there once a week, but we feel like it's really important to have a place for them to be able to come up anytime they have any issues. So, we're looking at, setting up maybe a Google Drive that if a parent wants to send us when the QR code's on there, some information. But the bottom line is they want to get an answer when they make a call. So our secretary can be that person and get that information out to the resources that we need to get them into. So this is a new endeavor. We're going to see how we do with it, to be determined after we get it up and running. Next slide, please. And then our fourth one is MTSS. This is basically where we are now. This is our tiers of support. Next slide, please. And this is basically our tiers of support just broken down for our staff on where they have to go in if this is happening with a child, go here, go here, go here. We do that across the board, and that's how staff know how to get supports with us. Currently, we are trying to build it up a little more. Next slide, please. And so our actual goal, the outcomes to date that we are looking for, is to have an SEL committee to review and analyze data and build systems of support that involve all stakeholders. So not just meeting with people internally, but bringing in families, bringing in the educators, meeting with our community partners that are working with our kids. And then our above mentioned Family Resource Center. Next slide, please. That might be it. That's it, I think, Alfred. So pretty much we align very well, I have to say, with the district. It was easy for us to do that because we are limited in sort of what we can do as far as the school improvement planning, because it is not as academically driven. It's more driven on what we do within our program. So, any questions? Any questions? A lot of information. I know. A lot of information. I know you guys have to think about it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Next item we have is a finance update. And Craig, if you could kind of go into a little bit about what is up before the school committee to vote on today that we discussed I was just
Sure.
observing
Sure,
at the
just-
building committee also while you're up here.
Just give me a moment to pull up my notes.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Feels like I was just up here talking about the finance update. Year to date, for the current fiscal year we're in, we still remain on target. We had a little bit of changes for last fiscal year, so our positive number has gone over the $100,000 mark. So that's good. Again, there's still a couple bills being paid, but we made it past the $100,000 mark. In terms of the action items that you have before you tonight to approve, so one is to consider and vote the guaranteed maximum price amendment, the recommendation for Martin. At the building committee meeting last night, the building committee approved this as well. What happened was we took some money out of the owner's contingency and moved it up to the hard costs to cover some of the overages that we had. So it was about $725,000 that we took out of that line, and we moved it up to cover the overages in the hard costs. The other piece that you're going to be asking tonight is just to simply, so last meeting, we had approved the GMP for Waddington. Tonight before you is just to approve the contract. So the contract has been reviewed by our legal team, as well as the legal team from Shawmut, and the building committee approved the contract last night as well. Any questions?
Please. Thanks. Yep, go ahead.
Craig, would there be another project manager at that project, or are they going to share the one that's at Riverside?
So for Waddington, we have a central person, Ann De Silva, who was here for the last meeting. So we have Ann, and then there's another person who's working with her from Peregrine Group, Matthew Abraham. So he's working specifically on the Waddington project with her.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions or comments from the committee? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is Policy Committee report.
Yes.
Okay, so discussion on the student behavior. So we requested from the superintendent at our last meeting 2 weeks ago an update on discipline from schools, and we got that sent to us 2 weeks ago, I think. It was a pretty lengthy piece of documentation. And I'm not sure that all students know when they do something, what is going to happen to them. I'm starting to learn that some students think it's okay to write on walls or put pencils through chairs or other items of destruction of school property. And again, like Mrs. Rebello said a couple minutes ago, family and community engagement. Family needs to be engaged in order to understand what's going on in the schools, and I think we're missing a piece at the middle and high school. So what I'm trying to look at is our code of conduct is quite lengthy currently, and it includes, as you see in your packet, it includes the weapons, the zero tolerance drugs. It includes our dress code policy, which is not up to date in this particular setting. It's separate, to take it out. I'm asking that over the next couple weeks, everyone take some time and give their feedback to maybe shortening a behavior policy and then including the code of conduct as something to read and as reference for parents to keep one copy at home, and for students to sign and parents to sign and date that they read it. I know that we do that now. I don't know if that's something that is, if it stays or where it goes. In our current code of conduct, we talked about maybe we can do it electronic means. I think maybe now, when you sign up for sports, it's electronic, you sign everything, so maybe we can look into that. But I think when students are called to the office or when students are asked, why did you do something? And the parent comes in and says, not my kid. You can say, well, here it is. Here's the document you signed. It says you can't do that, and that's why the actions are happening. Again, it's a huge document, and I think if we just made a one page and said, this is the policy, refer to this, it might be easier. So I gave that to your reading pleasure. Also on that is the student representative on the school committee. Now, everyone heard him tonight. I am a proponent of students, inside and out. That's why I sit up here. However, I think we need one body up here. I would like to see an actual student sit up here for a meeting. I'd like to hear their thoughts, their ideas. I don't need to hear the sports or updates and the school updates. It's great and we can do it, but I want to hear how do they feel. I think back when we went into the classroom about the dress code, 4 of us went 2 separate times. That was my first feeling of these kids have something to say. And then we changed it based on what they had to say. So I really would like to see this. My fault for not getting this done sooner. It's been on my list to do. So in front of you, there's 2 copies because one of the protocols about choosing someone should not be our protocol. I don't believe it should be the school committee who picks. That should be something done by the principal of the school or his designee who chooses to put that person up here with us, not me. However, the other part that I would like to do is I think that that person should be the liaison for the school improvement team. But again, that's not something I can do or implement. It's something I would like to see. So you can see it. It's there's 2 different copies. One is simpler than the other. But I would like to get this passed with your thoughts and criticisms and ideas so that for this coming next year, we have somebody that sits up here. And again, you know, they're not part of us. They do not vote. They do not go in executive, but they will get the agenda ahead of time. They will be able to add stuff to the agenda. And if there is something that comes up, they will be able to speak about it. So that's what I'm looking for. I know other districts do it, so I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but I think that our concerns and opinions from students need to be addressed. So, thoughts? Anybody?
I'll just add on to the behavior policy. I think that, like exactly what you said, I think it would definitely be easier for people to take a quick look at, okay, like these are the expectations. And again, shout out again to our administrators and teachers and support staff that have done everything they've can throughout to try and work with students that have different behavior issues or challenges from prior years. I think that's kind of like the consistent feedback that we've gotten, that families are different, the community is different, things have changed, and it seems like we're adapting. And what I'm getting from Jessica is that we want to help out in some capacity within our powers. So this is an effort to do so. But that's all I wanted to add on my end. So do you want us to just email you any feedback on this for the rest of the committee? I know you and I work together on the policy committee, but I'm just trying to.
Just like, so like the code of conduct, and we've talked to the superintendent, it does say like about how many days you're suspended for stuff, and we don't need to have that in here. That should be judgment on the person doing it, the designee. I don't think we need to have, okay, suspended for more than 6 days during a school year. Let them judge that. Again, it's with everything else. I mean, it's all together, and I think we just need to make it a little more simple so students understand. And I also mean middle school students. Again, we all saw the discipline paperwork. I'd like this to continue through high school and middle school, and if we could do something for the elementary schools, that would be great, but I didn't see much of a issue there. So, that's all I got.
Yeah. So there was some information that was provided this evening. So there's a little bit of digestion that needs to take place for sure. Just clarification: the code of conduct that we were provided with, I was able to read through. It is correct that the last time this was amended was in 2008. So I think it's a really great idea to be able to take some time, sink our teeth into this. And be able to provide really, some feedback and collaboration on that. The student behavioral policy that was provided here, this policy is current or proposal?
Proposal.
And then, so ultimately, what you're asking is to take this information, digest it, and then come back and apply this into the code of conduct,
Correct.
and then implement the code of conduct to be a piece of material that needs to be signed and dated by all of our students' families and returned to the district. Therefore, making sure that, you know, our students and families are fully aware of what our code of conduct is going into the school year. So something to implement like in the September packet. My children are in elementary school, so there's a packet that I'm familiar with as a parent that we get, and we, sign and provide, information. So that's the idea here, correct?
Can I
Great.
just add to that? So we've had a committee working on the code of conduct all year. So the dress code was the first piece of that, that the committee approved a few months back. And so they actually met today on the code of conduct itself. So there is a district-wide committee that's been meeting that will bring a proposal to you with updates too. Yes, yes. That's our goal, to have something new in place, voted on, passed before the school year starts.
And so essentially, this code of conduct could act in ways of compiling a handful of policies that are in place in one piece of paper that they will be provided with. So I think it's a great opportunity to like communicate not just one policy but multiple put together for our families, and especially kind of going off of the theme of family engagement, which was great to hear. Moving over, just for clarification, there was two.
One's simpler than the other,
One simpler. I
Right.
noticed that.
but it,
So then, in theory, this representative would be sitting at every school committee meeting at our table, and during discussion items would have an opportunity to partake in the discussion, giving the essential perspective of the high school student. I will say, just to share out some of the information on here, that it's written to have it not, the member not serve more than a single term. I also appreciated the thought of ensuring that any member of the junior class who's a student in good standing and is enrolled in the U.S. government class during his or her junior year is part of the eligibility requirements. I think that's a nice detail to have. Any other thoughts?
I'll also just add that once this is all finalized and drafted up by the policy committee, that will be posted along with the agenda at a future later date, just so the public does have the ability to review those ahead of time. Because these are very much an initial draft and their starting point, that's why we haven't included it in our agenda. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And in thought, like by having this potential representative, in the future, would this create a takeaway from having student liaisons reporting at every meeting?
yeah, I would think that this would be the person. This would, it wouldn't stop the middle school students, not at all. This would just be, they would sit up here and whatever, they have their time up here. And I did put in, based on the evening, they don't have to stay the whole time, but I would like, if they could, if we're not too late, I did put that in there. Just the earnest effort to attend meetings and attend workshops if they would like, if they'd be interested in it.
Any additional questions or comments from the committee on items 1 and 2 under the policy committee report? Before I go into the third one. So the third one is the policy review cycle. Max had brought up that idea to Jessica and I about potentially creating a policy of kind of organizing and prioritizing the review of certain policies that have not been looked at in many years. And I've also, spoken with the superintendent that has pointed out there are some policies that the committee should prioritize as well, and taking a look at that. So I think it's just helpful, especially for future school committees, to really be able to organize that and make sure that, we stay on task on handling, I think, one of the most important responsibilities that a school committee has, which is very much policy review and creation as well. So I will be working on drafting that and making sure that the committee has that for a first read the next time that we meet. But any other questions or comments on any of the 3 items regarding that? Okay. Next item.
Next item is building committee report.
So, I was going to say, I'm not sure if you would
Yeah,
like to.
I mean,
I can chime in too.
Yeah, I'll just give you an update of what was discussed last night. It was a pretty short meeting. The project milestones, the Governor's Commission on Disability was approved and received, and that was because of our pre-K playground. I was going to say the $1 million one, but I can't, because no, it's not. That was a project milestone. It's all. Was a little bit of an issue at Riverside. They tried to do some demolition and found some concrete, a lot of concrete, a lot that wasn't on the plans. So they are looking at it right now, and then they'll proceed how they need to with that. Another, which I found, our building permit took about 3 months. I didn't know that, so that's a little long. Yeah, from. You don't want to bring up groundbreaking at Martin Middle School. It's going to be April 9th. It's a Tuesday, right, at 11 o'clock. It's not going to be like the high schools. We'd like to keep it a little low key. So looking at you. We're not going to hire a PR firm or anything like that. So that was brought up. Another great thing that was brought up is that they did bring up the fact that Waddington, over April vacation, they may be able to get in there and work on some electrical, which I thought was great before they start this summer. Our next meeting is April 8th. It's a Monday night at 6 p.m. at Martin Middle School. I have asked Mr. Montero, the chair of the building committee, to attend probably our April meeting to give one of his thorough, and I mean thorough, presentations of what's been happening at Martin. So by that, it will be a late night.
And just one last thing. The high school building committee did not meet yesterday, so.
They are on the 8th.
But they are on the 8th.
At 5:30, if you'd like to attend.
Yes. All right. Next item, please.
Next item is discussion items.
Okay. We have the assistant director of a pupil personnel position, moving them to full-time because they're currently part-time. I'm not sure if the superintendent, I'll let the superintendent take it away from there.
So as the committee knows, but the public may not, Bud McDonnell, who's been with us for over 8 years, has announced his retirement, so he will be leaving in early June. Bud has been the part-time, he started out initially as the director of pupil personnel, and he has been the part-time director for the last few years. In that time, we've seen an increase of over 75 IEPs to the district. And in addition, we've seen the needs of students in the district really change and become greater. So what I'm hoping to do is take that part-time position and move that to a full-time position to provide more support in the district. So really, One of the things that you approved last meeting was the ALP program, the Alternative Learning Program at the high school. So I would use this person to help oversee that program in the direction that that program goes in. Also, as you know, we had the special education audit. So we have some recommendations going forward as to how we want to proceed. So that person, if we go to a full-time director, would also be helping to oversee some of our specialized programs, some of our self-contained classrooms. So there is a lot of work that we need to do, and we really feel like that position needs to be full-time to support both staff and students in the district. So that's my request moving forward, is to convert that position back to a full-time position like it was a few years back.
I guess just to add to what you said, I think the need is definitely there, especially with this audit that we've received. It's going to be a lot of, I think, transition changes, and I think our students definitely need it, especially with this new ALP program. So I'm excited to see that we'll be addressing that, those needs accordingly with someone.
And just to add to that, we spoke about this last meeting when we presented on the special ed audit. So we have created a district-wide committee made up of staff throughout the district, pre-K to 12, to address the areas that have come out of the special education audit. So our first meeting is March 27th in the afternoon. So I really look forward. They have the recommendations, they have the information that was provided to us, and they're reviewing that, and we look forward to meeting with them and getting input from across the district on some of the areas that we need to continue to do well on, and some of the areas that we need to look at improving. So we're excited about that.
Any additional questions or comments from the committee?
I'm just curious, for how long has this position existed at a part-time level?
Since 3-4 years, since Leslie came on. So right before COVID hit.
Before that, it didn't exist.
It did exist as a full-time position. So we had a full-time pupil personnel director and a full-time assistant director.
And what was the reasoning for bringing it from full-time to part-time 4 years ago?
The previous superintendent decided that we would reduce that position.
And then moving forward into, the next budget cycle, is this a position that you feel confident we would be able to afford?
I do. So honestly, I've looked at all of the salaries across the state for people that have assistant pupil personnel directors, and I only see it as an increase in probably, and I'll be coming to you with salary ranges on all the administrative positions, but I'm anticipating somewhere around $30,000. So I think with the overseeing of the ALP program and the potential cost savings there once we get the program fully operational, I do see the position as being cost effective for the amount of time we're picking up and the amount of money it will cost us.
Yeah. And then in terms of like the oversight of the ALP program expectation, would that be like, would the expectation be that this person would be like the point person for that program?
Correct.
I guess depending on, where the committee, goes from the initial, meeting and all that, and what the needs are at the different schools, will there potentially be like a change in responsibilities, or will that kind of help in creating the responsibilities for that position? Because it just, still has to be vacated soon, so.
Right, and I think that's our opportunity to look at exactly who will be responsible for what. Okay. And to look at all of our special ed positions in administration, our LEAs, and to see who's responsible for what and how, we can adjust those positions if need be. I also, with the additional time, want to provide more supports to schools. So getting out into schools, getting out into classrooms. We do try to get out there and see what's going on. So this would give us some additional time to make sure that we're getting into classrooms when there are needs that we need to look at. and be able to help and support and address those.
So when would you be thinking about potentially posting for this? I know this, we still have to vote on the salary, so no, it's not like.
Right, so
done
Bud
deal.
leaves on June 6th. Bud actually oversees ESY too, so I would like to post as soon as possible. You know, even if we don't have an initial salary range, you know, we wouldn't, it will take us a while to do the posting and, you know, to get candidates to interview. So hopefully by the time, you know, we were ready to interview, we would have the exact salary range.
Gotcha. Any additional questions or comments from the committee?
So.
I have two, please.
Oh, go ahead.
Sandy, would we have just a rough range what the total salary be or what Bud's at now, and we add the 30,000 to it?
Yep, so Bud is at approximately 80,000, and the state salary range that I've seen for this position, it's in the 110 to 120 range, somewhere in there, depending on size of district and.
We'll have all those metrics though for the.
Yeah, I'll make
For
sure.
that meeting when we actually
Right.
go through all the salaries.
Yep, I have a spreadsheet with everything, with what other districts are, so. And again, that
And
varies
just a
based.
second question, Cindy.
Yep.
Do we track the time, like when we bring him on full-time, would he be, like you said, hopefully going to other schools? Are they logged in when they're at, so say at the end of the month, you know where this individual would be?
Yeah, so we all keep calendars, and I see people's calendars, so like, anytime I can speak for myself and the directors, when they're out in a building, like, that's on their calendar. So,
Okay, yeah. Like you could see if we need him more, the new program we're starting, you could kind of shift them around.
Yep.
You'll still have control over that with this individual.
yes.
Okay.
And so the directors meet every week, and everybody has input into, you know, everybody goes around the table, we talk about what we're working on, we talk about issues that we're experiencing in the district, we talk about solutions. So, you know, that's also a time when we would, you know, address those issues if people need to be somewhere or out in schools or, so.
Thank you.
Jessica?
So my biggest thing is the ability to be in schools and to be present and to attend functions. I wouldn't support this position if that's not what it's going to be. The idea that we need these guys in our schools to see what is going on, to observe what's going on. I feel that this will be a great addition to our staff, but I really would like to, what Tony said, I would like to be followed up with, and this is not new to the superintendent, I spoke to her about this, I just really would like there to be availability. Again, getting parents involved, making them feel comfortable, I really would like that to go forward. I don't know if we have a job posting yet, but I really would like to see it once it's done. I know that, you know, I can't really tell you what to write, but I really, or what you're looking for in particular with this particular person, but I really would want that person to be very family-oriented, teacher-oriented, child-oriented.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is I like the idea. I also think that there's a lot of potential for this person, if they are to be the point person for the ALP program. There's a lot of potential for that to take up a heavy demand. You know, and I think that that's going to be a really crucial role as well. And so it's not to take away the importance of that role, because I think it's really important. But kind of going off of what Jess was saying too, I'm not sure if, you know, seeing the opportunity to alleviate some of the workload or to allow for a little more flexibility to be out within like our schools to give like that direct service or engagement with the teachers or the families that might be needed. I'm just kind of struggling to see, just based on what my own ideas are for the need for the additional responsibilities, if like how it wouldn't necessarily benefit just like the freedom of time, more so than kind of just taking over like that program, which again I think is really important. But yeah, I would be, I'd be interested to learning a little more about the specific job roles and duties for this position. Currently, I don't think, unfortunately, I've had the opportunity to meet Bud. And I'm just curious, like, as like in a part-time role for this current position, what would be like some of the essential like roles and responsibilities that they that he currently holds?
Yeah, so he facilitates IEP meetings when necessary, when the district needs to be involved. He runs our ESY summer program. I don't know, Leslie probably could speak to it more. Like, they split up, that office is constantly busy. I mean, when they're responsible for over 1,100 students, and it's the daily issues. I mean, it's the daily, we have mediation, we have, we deal with parent concerns. It's just busy all the time. We deal with programs, we deal with staffing, and they split those responsibilities. And I'll share a job description with you.
And like total and that's the department needs some support, I think.
They
right?
do need
and
support.
This is that opportunity. I just
Right.
think, I would just like to continue the conversation in terms of like what because other like new programs that we're planning on or hopeful to do are also going to need a high level of support as well.
Right.
And so I just want to make sure that if this is, and we can say it's only, a $30,000 increase if that's what it turns out to be. However, making sure that it's just seeing the whole picture of, I think just already kind of seeing the importance of, looking at some of these positions and opportunities in terms of thinking about, FY25 and where we're going to be at then is like really crucial to just like the overall, long-term success. So, again, like I think it's a great idea. It's a great opportunity for our district and our students and families. And I look forward to hearing more about it. Thank you.
Just a couple of points, too. So every dollar we're looking at, believe me, and I want every dollar going back into students, and I'm adamant about that. But I do feel like this is a role that can support students, and that's why I come to you with it. Because we all try to get out into schools. We are constantly bogged down in meetings and, issues that we're trying to resolve. And so our goal, and from day one, I've communicated that with directives, that our goal, we're a support to the district. We're a support to staff, we're a support to families, we're a support to students. And that's how we always approach things. I myself would love to be in schools more. Unfortunately, there's a lot of responsibilities that have pulled me out of schools lately. So, we really do try to be out there, and I do think this additional position would give us someone else that could get out in schools, because Leslie's constantly in meetings, and she's dealing with the difficult situations, and those could be, she could be in a meeting for 2 hours of her day, and prepping for that meeting. So like I said, I take every dollar that we're spending seriously. I'm looking at every position that, when we create new ones or when we add to new ones, like how it's going to benefit our students and how it's going to benefit and support our staff who are supporting our students. So the other thing I wanted to say is that the salary right now for this position is in our IDEA grant. It's in our special education grant. It doesn't come out of the general budget, and it has been in there. Just so not that matters, because every dollar, as far as I'm concerned, should be focused on students, but it is a position right now that's in the grant.
And at some point, could we get a list of the additional responsibilities that would be included with this position becoming full-time?
Any additional questions or comments from the committee? The next item, the superintendent has requested us to table this. It is a matter that she is still working on. So that is the second item under discussion items, converting the dean positions to assistant principal positions at the elementary schools. So I'm proposing tabling that item to a future meeting, whenever this has been resolved. So is there a motion to table item 2, and then the action item that corresponds with that, which is action item number 6?
I'll make a motion to table both items.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Is there a nay? Tabled.
Next item is public comments.
I have Miss Chrissy Rossi.
Hi, I am not going to touch this week. Not doing it. And I know I usually come up here to whine at you, but today I actually have some fun for you. So it is parade planning time. And on behalf of the American Legion Post 10, located on Willard Avenue in Riverside, you are all sitting here formally invited to come and march with us. And if we could get the band from the high school and from each middle school, that would be fantastic. And I don't know if any of your student groups have an interest in putting a little float together. Maybe they would like to take, I don't know, you could chess club, whatever you got. We want them all. And I think it would be great. Maybe you can get the vocational kids involved. And carpentry people, they could build it, and the computer people could maybe print you out some fun banners and decorations. I don't know. You guys are the experts. My only goal tonight was to invite you and offer all of the groups to join. And I'm pretty sure everybody has my phone number by now. Just call me and let me know who's attending so I know where to put them in place in line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Miss Tori Jessup Crowley.
I was just wondering if I can just bear with me for one moment, if I could just put the black hat back on, just in response to some of the things that we had on the agenda today. So one of the questions that I had in regards to the student behavior, well, let me go back to the principal's report back with MJF. Just want to make sure that that program, I saw that there was misbehaviors on there, so I just want to get clarification on what the misbehaviors are and making sure that we are recognizing, and I'm sure you are, but I just want to, as a parent, be clear and transparent that we are making sure that all behaviors are a form of communication and that we are utilizing whatever behavior plans or referral to a behavior plan for that child. That was that question. And then for the behavior policy, are we utilizing the matrix for the behavior intervention plans in regards to that? Foul language, are we including that? Because I know that that's an issue on all levels, unfortunately, including elementary. And then the suspension, I kind of do feel it needs to be universal because we need to have universal on both middle schools. I do understand you wanting to make sure that we have discretion upon the dean or the principal that might be doling out those suspensions, but also understanding that suspensions can also be a reward, so making sure that we have some sort of internal suspension so they are not missing out on any educational hours. All right, so now back on Tori's hat. Oh no, sorry, one more thing in black. For Bud's position, that congratulations on your retirement, but also with that posting of the position and with the interview process, to please include EPLAC in the interview process as we were in the past, and that pertains to our students. And then you're saying that the audit committee meeting is on March 27th, but we have not received an invitation via EPLAC, and I was under our impressions that the parents would also be involved and other stakeholders within that audit committee. So is that a separate committee, or are we still doing that 12-person stakeholder committee for the audit? Because that was supposed to be including EPLAC as well. And so now I'll just go back to Tori. Sorry, I wear a couple hats here. So I'm coming up today and requesting some clarification on our athletic policy. I know that that's something that we had talked about previously. If you have like a failing grade, things like that, that a child is unable to participate, but it is due to some inclusiveness, some students with IEPs and 504s do have the ability to turn in some assignments late, modifications, things like that. So I want to make sure that that policy is inclusive and that there is ability for these coaches to have leniency when there is possibly a numerical grade, particularly middle school, high school, that might go below that failing point. But I want to make sure that that child, there is best practice utilized within that policy to make sure that a child isn't going to be excluded from their sport simply because their grade did fall behind, but they do have accommodations built into their IEP or 504. So I'm sure that's part of best practice, but I do want to make sure that we have some clarification on that for those particular students. And then, as you all know, well, maybe you all know that our IIL is taking over RIPCOA, which is going to give us some amazing opportunities for middle school sports, and I'm super excited. And as you know, with the this year having the sanctioning of girls wrestling within our middle school and high school, and having our very first state championships this year and New England championships, I am asking for your support and your help with growing girls wrestling within our community. Unfortunately, my daughter is the only one representing East Providence, and we used to have a robust group of girls being able to participate in the sport prior to it being sanctioning to having a female team. So we are going to be required to have a team representing both middle school and high school. So I do would appreciate some help in regard to that. And we do have a great female director within the USA group that is willing to help us with any of that. And my daughter would really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Sarah Sarafan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Myself and Lisa Ferrucci, we are here on behalf of middle school cheer. This year, we were fortunate enough to be included in the Boys and Girls Club grant through RIDE. So we brought back cheer at the middle school level at Riverside Middle School. We had a huge turnout. We had, I think 60 girls try out. We had 15 or 16 girls make the team, but we were using a one-time grant through RIDE, through the Boys and Girls Club. What we are hoping to do is get the support of East Providence to re-implement cheer at the middle school level through the school department, not through the Boys and Girls Club, because as I said, it was a one-time grant and we're not guaranteed it next year. In front of you, I prepared a budget, and this is based off of what we would need financially. I do want to also mention, looking at this budget, we do have some nonprofits who are interested in sponsoring part of uniform purchasing. And I know looking at the number, it looks like a big number right now. Please keep in mind that that's just the initial cost. Year over year, you're looking at under $600 to provide uniforms for the girls. And Anyone who knows cheer knows that parents, purchase sneakers, they purchase a bodysuit, they purchase shorts or, lollies for under the uniform. So there is some financial obligation on the parent. It wouldn't just be through the school department. And keep in mind also that these uniforms are used year over year. So, if you take the amount and you divide it by 5 years, you're going to get at least 5 years with these uniforms. So I know the number is shocking looking at it here, but if we break it down, it's not too much. Lisa's going to talk about some of the benefits of students in athletics, especially at the middle school level. Right now, we have the junior townies, which I just came from there, so sorry for the clothing. So right now, the junior townies go up to age 14, and then you can go on to the high school to cheer. There's nothing for these girls at the middle school level. Either they cheer with the junior townies, they're done at the end of football season, and then they don't do anything else until the next year, or they go to Cheer Up or BSRI, which are extremely expensive. So we want these girls to be able to cheer for wrestling, for basketball, girls basketball, boys basketball, unified basketball. So that is our hope. We had a great turnout this year. Everyone who came to our games talked about how great they were. The girls loved it because it's not a competitive team, which we do want to get there, but this year we weren't there, so it was just fun. The girls all put together the halftime routine together, very collaborative. It was a great experience, but I just want to let Lisa talk too.
We just feel that the cheer program, which was years ago, is a good way for a feeder program for our high school. High school, they have competition. Our goal is to implement a JV, a varsity, and a competitive program, so that it's the connection between our city league and the high school. There are more opportunities for scholarships for cheerleading than there are for football. We want to give our girls and boys as many opportunities to fund college endeavors as possible. We want these kids to have more reasons to stay in school. Too many of our children don't want to stay in school for any reason. Cutting our programs isn't going to help them, and we know it's that's the bottom line. We're ready to do the hard work, to raise money, to do whatever we have. We've put things in place. Just want to be given the opportunity to really help the children of our city, enrich our city. We talk about parent involvement, student involvement. You want students up here. We want to build them from ground up. We want to put in place a pride in their town, in their school, in themselves. That's where our goal is.
Thank you. So overall, we're just looking for some support, maybe some guidance on how we can do this. We just feel it's extremely important. We know that the interest is there at both schools. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is action items.
First, we have a consider and vote to approve the indemnification agreement. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All let's say aye.
Aye.
Approved. Are there any nays? Okay. Next, we have a consider and vote to approve the 2024 and 2025 school calendar. Superintendent, is there anything you want to add before we entertain a vote? Okay.
No, we're actually following basically the RIDE calendar with just a couple of modifications. But all of the school vacations are in line with other districts.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the 2024 and 2025 school calendar?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Jen, can you get the start date and end date proposed on there? 'Cause I don't have mine.
Oh.
in front of me. I don't want to just guess.
I have the 28th of August, 2024 through, would this be it?
Yeah.
The 16th of June, 2025 would be the last day of school. Sorry, I had the 18th too, just in case of snow days. All right. Did we take that all down, Sharon? Okay. Next, we have a consider and vote to approve the guaranteed maximum price amendment. Same thing that Craig had gone over. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Are there any nays? Okay. Price amendment for recommendation for Martin Middle School. Yeah, sorry. Next, we have a motion to approve the contract and guaranteed maximum price amendment recommendation for Waddington Elementary School. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Are there any nays? Next, we have a vote to approve the Assistant Director of the Pupil Personnel position to full-time. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Are there any nays? And next item, please.
The next item is announcements.
Are there any announcements from the committee?
Yes, tomorrow night at East Providence High School, unified basketball game, 4 o'clock here. Also, our next school committee meeting is April 9th.
Well, we have a special meeting, potentially, but, I'm sorry.
I need to make an announcement. And this is kind of like a public service announcement for anyone listening to this meeting, here at this meeting, to talk to folks in the community. But it's really crucial that folks adhere to really all traffic and safety laws out there. There has been issues that have come to my attention throughout folks in the community. I've had an opportunity to talk to folks, parents at bus stops in person, and other members in our community. But it's specifically when a bus is picking or dropping off children and the stop sign is out, both sides of traffic need to come to a complete stop. Because there are instances when there are 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th or even 1st grade students who may be on a sidewalk, and they could go across the street and people are flying by. And I know that folks are feeling like their world is just going really fast and are in a huge rush, but I timed out a bus at a very busy intersection close to a major impacted street because of the bridge, and it took it under 50 seconds to pick up over 7 children in the morning. It is not a long time. And so once again, folks who are listening, it's really important that people on the road are just practicing heightened safety, because if you're in a rush to get to work or wherever you're going, just imagine the 7-year-old who's just really excited to get to school or to come off the bus. And I just needed to make that public, and if folks could talk to anyone they know, or take down a license plate if you see someone flying by a stop sign that a bus has out. It's an issue, and it's being addressed. And I also just want to let the public know that I appreciate folks who contact me directly with issues that might be happening to them or something they observe, because I'm more than happy and willing to meet and communicate firsthand and try to find like solutions for problems, especially safety issues when it comes to, you know, our students within our community. So didn't mean to get on a huge soapbox, but it's just something that's, it's been a conversation for me, and I wanted to just make a public statement so folks can just share that information out. It's just to just practice caution when you see buses on the road. Thank you.
Ryan, I'd just like to follow up that for a minute. Sandy, is there a record that from the bus company that the amount of vehicles that do pass that sign when it's out? Could you just research and maybe get that to us?
So so we have cameras on some buses. We've reached out to the camera company, and we're looking to install cameras on all the buses. This agreement goes way, way back, and we've signed new MOU, so it's through the police department in the city and the bus company. The school department doesn't really oversee that. So it goes, anyone that goes through a bus stop sign and gets caught on camera, that goes to the police department and the company, much like the speed cameras on, in front of the schools. So that information the police department would have, I can ask if they have like a spreadsheet but we don't really get involved in the fines or the penalties that go along with that, because it's a traffic violation. But we did reach out to the camera company and ask them if they could update all of the cameras and make sure that the whole fleet was outfitted with cameras. So I'm waiting to hear back as to the timeline for that and a new contract. So I hopefully will hear soon.
Yeah, and I'll just follow up with, just not to get into the specifics of this, the specific situation that had come to my attention. However, I do want to give a quick hat tip. Dr. Ferrand, the mayor, the chief of police, city council member Frank Rigo, we're all within communications about like a specific, this potential danger. So it is something that, those folks all took within a 12-hour period. I had communications from all 4 of those people plus some. Folks do take this seriously. I think it's just important that all of members of our community are like taking this seriously, and it's something that it's just trying to prevent a potential danger. That it makes a lot of sense to most people, I'm sure, listening. Of course, you stop when the stop sign is out at a bus, but people are flying through, and so I just wanted to just try to throw that out there into the world for folks to just tell their friends when they talk to them, hey, don't forget that's the law. I don't know, but thanks. Yeah.
Next item, please.
The next item is adjournment.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Aye.
I'll make a motion.
Second. All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Hey, Chrissy, what's the date for the parade? Did I miss that?
Can you stay 1 second? 1 minute.
Oh, Memorial Day
1 minute?
parade.
Stay there 1 second.